Oh, my mic got turned down again. Okay. Dude, this is my third live today. How crazy is this? And then I'm going to put out that pre-record. So that'll be 4 videos today. But in case if I have to take a week off at my brother's, I might if I don't have the right stuff. Did it redirect you guys though or not? Did it do it? Okay, so I don't know what he's gonna say. I haven't watched it because I was watching. It came out when I was listening to the Jeanette stuff with you guys. So let's see what he says, guys. I don't know. All right, hold on. It's News Nation with what's her name, Banfield. All right, so let me bring it over here and I will play it. Okay, let's see. I'm kind of nervous. I don't even know what to expect. Like what he's gonna say. Okay.
Say, I wanted you to be able to say out loud for everyone to hear what this means to you and your family.
This is anything but justice. This is the opposite of our will. There was no majority believing that this was acceptable. I want to honor all the police officers, the FBI, and all the people that work their tail off. The failure is at the court level, 100%. But the men in the boots on the ground and the women that were out there working, I want to honor everything that they did for our children, 100%. The fault is in leadership and the people that you place this evidence upon. They were weak. They decided to play God and decide what this man's decision should be, and not a jury, not a peers, not his peers. They, so that's where we are today.
Walk me through what happened. Brian Enton, did some really great reporting at the top of this show here. But tell me from your perspective how the last 3 days have played out.
I would say ever since Hitler has demanded an independent investigation, they couldn't get away from this case fast enough. They've done everything to make this case go away. So I don't know what that entails, but he said he was going to have an independent investigator, and all of a sudden we seemed like we were on rails to get rid of this case and make a plea deal. I mean, he's guilty. We all know he's guilty. There's more than enough evidence, but it's tough. It's tough to put a community through this, and it could be bad for reputations and business identities, and there's fallout. But this isn't the will of the victims. This is just one person making a decision, and it doesn't reflect what we were asking for.
Steve, did anybody ever call you from the prosecutor's office to just personally discuss this with you? Did anybody offer to meet with you in person to go over this potential plan?
We have meetings all the time on, particularly a lot of times on Friday. No. We had this regular meeting that we have to try basically do an update of what's going on, where things are at, because Idaho is actually an amazing state where it really does care about people. We just get one or two, people who just don't care about the victims and don't care about justice. And it's easy to take the weight out. It's easy to make an excuse and say, I'm doing this for the victims, even though I've never interviewed the victims. I've never really talked to them to find out what their true feelings are. So here we are. We're stuck, and we can't get out of it. I ask your audience if anybody knows Judge Hitler, reach out to him and ask him to put his foot down and not accept this offer. It doesn't reflect anything in Idaho. This is not justice. We had an outsider come to our community, kill our kids in their sleep while they're getting a college education, doing everything that they should do, and we don't have the courage to hold him accountable. No plea deal. Let's go for this guy. 100%. Let's do it. And that's how this family stands.
Steve, I know that, it's no secret your daughter Kaylee was so close with Maddie Mogan, best of friends. And I know that you got to know the Mogan family as well. Have you spoken with the Mogan family, and do you know what their reaction is to this plea decision?
We actually just had a meeting with the prosecution and just tore into it and made it clear that we were not in support of this, but we also invited other families into that, and I'll let them speak on their own that were a part of that meeting, but we are in no way alone on this. Multiple families believe the same as we do, but I want to honor their abilities to speak independently and as their child. So I don't want to cross that line, but all I will say is there was no majority for this decision at all. And if they're not working for us, they're working against us, guys. I mean, we have to wake up to this. I mean, we have to hold people accountable. Coeur d'Alene just had a shooting where we attacked our firemen. People need to stand up to these monsters and stop freaking bowing down to them and giving them childcare. I mean, prison is nothing but adult childcare. You get free vision, you get free dental, you get free meals, you get AC, room and board, cable TV, internet access. It's ridiculous what we give our prisoners. Better than what we treat our vets. Our vets coming back from war with missing limbs. This is unacceptable.
Thank you for watching. Subscribe.
Yeah, guys. So I got to remember, not everybody probably saw it. So I did do a live 2 lives ago. I did a live about the plea deal already. So that's why I just jumped into this interview, because we already talked about it on my first live about this, a few hours ago. So yeah, if you guys didn't realize, yes, freaking, he got offered a plea deal. Well, you know what? Let me read the TMZ with the Coronel's interview, or their statement, because I mean, I guess people didn't see my first one. So yeah, hold on a second. Or I could just send you over to my first one. Well, no, I'll just do it. Eric, I think all the info, where is it? Yeah. I'm trying to like see what you guys are saying really quick, because I'm not going to be on long. But now I feel like I should repeat everything that I talked about, because there are a lot of new people that actually, yeah, 146. Okay, so let me do, I only had like 40 in the last one. So yeah, maybe I will go over the TMZ thing again too. Okay, hold on 1 second. And also, let me do this real quick. Let me play this video while I'm looking for the TMZ one. So this is said why Bryan Kohberger won't have to tell victims' families what happened. Interesting, because I wasn't sure what that was going to be. So let's watch this real quick, and then I will find the interview with the part with the criminals too.
All the wagons.
Oh. Sorry, I thought I had it shared. Gosh darn it. There we go.
And Mercedes, okay. I'm going to start with you because you're the only person here who wasn't surprised.
I'm not.
You thought this was going to happen. Well, think about all the wagons that were circling Kohberger. The fact that the DNA of the ninth sheep was coming in, there was a motion to suppress. The fact that they had made a motion to this alternate perpetrators theory, that was the most devastating blow, the most recent
The
devastating blow.
judge just threw that out last week.
Exactly, because they had identified, the defense had identified 4 individuals. Thankfully, the judge redacted their names and said this would create such chaos for these jurors because they had already complied with an investigation behind the scenes with law enforcement. They took the DNA swabs of each of them. They were cleared. No DNA evidence whatsoever was found in the crime scene.
Why on earth did Bryan Kohberger think he could come into court and have his attorneys implicate 4 men whose DNA wasn't found at the crime scene and who had alibis and were cleared? I don't understand why he even thought that was possible.
That's the million-dollar question. We're dealing with a mind that thinks he is better and above all else. If we ever find out the reasons behind these killings, and we suspect it's like some sort of fantasy in his mind, having been a criminal law student, that somehow he would to actually perpetrate the perfect crime and get away with it, then he thinks he's smarter than his lawyers. But if the lawyers were really looking at this, and they were fighting for his life, I mean, they were trying everything conceivable, including postponing the trial. They were thinking they were going to continue to develop the defense. But at this point, there was no defense. They couldn't even bring in an alibi because in Idaho law, it requires the alibi to be substantiated by a witness, a testimony that comes in and says, I saw Kohberger driving around and actually give the times that actually support the alibi. Without that supporting witness, you cannot even bring an alibi into the entire mix.
Jennifer, you say this is actually a big win for Bryan Kohberger. Why?
It's a huge win because the evidence was so strong against him. And sadly, I think it's an empty feeling for those families. It really is, Elizabeth, because they're looking at it saying, look at the powerful evidence. This is what we call in the FBI a whale in the bucket. That's how easy this case would have been to try from the standpoint of evidence. And now he gets to spend the rest of his life in prison instead of possibly getting the death penalty.
And Bryan, you've got, do we know if these families who are, we know from one of the families that they are absolutely devastated and shocked at the plea deal, the Goncalves family, will any of them be in court on Wednesday when this is formalized legally?
I suspect that they will be there. I suspect most of the families will be there because this is such a pivotal moment. I'll tell you, there's one family member who I was just talking to before I came on your show who was very emotional and said she feels like all of the power has been given back to Bryan Kohberger. That's how she feels. She says they were told at the last minute that they were going to present this plea deal to him, and then he got the power and he got to make the decision of whether he was going to take it or whether he wanted to go to trial. And I think that is what is bothering some of the family members so much. They've tried to work through all of this with counseling and sort of like get their power back. Yeah. And now they feel like in the end, he had all the power, which does make sense when you think about their perspective on that.
No, it makes complete sense. Mercedes, we were talking before the break about the possibility or the impossibility now with this plea deal that these families will get the answers as to why. Why did you do this? Why did you break into this home and slaughter these 4 amazing, bright young adults with their entire lives ahead of them? Why? Well, they might not ever get the answer to that. The allocution that we were discussing doesn't force somebody to do that.
Exactly, it doesn't. I mean, what the allocution is generally is you've accepted this plea, you understand that you're going to be in prison for life.
It's not an explanation.
No
as to
explanation.
What happened
No, it's not part of the plea. So part of the plea is just understanding what he has actually pled guilty to, understanding that he will spend the rest of his days in prison, and understanding that he has no right to appeal. That's what a general allocution is. Unless there's some sort of agreement between both the prosecution and the defense.
What if the families say to the prosecutors, we want you to force him to explain this in court? Can they do that?
I'm sure they've already asked him that, because now that they know that the die is cast and that they have no ability to change what's already happened, that the plea's been accepted, that we're going to go into this victim impact statement. By the way, it's going to be gut-wrenching because you're going to hear from these parents whose children were slaughtered, and they're going to continue to live the nightmare, not knowing why their children were slaughtered. All they know is that this man's life is spared and their children are dead.
Thank you for watching.
So let me read you. So we saw how the Goncalves felt. They actually made a post that I had shared on my other live, but I'm going to actually just share everything I shared on my other live and maybe a few new things real quick, because yeah, I guess I do have a lot of new people in here that weren't in my other live. So hold on a second. We're going to go with this role now. So this is Coronado, Xana's family talking about it with TMZ. It's not an interview, it's just an article, but I'll read it here. So it says, victim's family told prosecutors, don't you dare make a deal. Says, to the family of Xana is livid. Or it says, why did I put two? The family of Xana Coronado is livid over the plea deal offered to accused of murder Bryan Kohberger. And they told prosecutors they had better not dare go through with it. I'm going to turn this off. I'm actually getting cold. Not cold, but like I don't think I need it on. So they told prosecutors, don't you dare go through with it. Kim, Xana's aunt, who was so furious, she was in tears, tells TMZ prosecutors floated the idea of a plea deal a few days ago, and the family made it clear, no way. When we spoke with Kim, she was on a conference call with prosecutors. She says prosecutors told her the defense approached prosecutors, or told her the defense approached prosecutors with a plea deal. And the prosecution went along to spare the families the pain of a trial. Kim says that's ridiculous because at least two of the families, hers and the Goncalves family, wanted Kohberger to face a jury. Kim says prosecutors were especially concerned that the families would have to see the gruesome crime scene photos of their loved ones, but she says, we know the graphics. They were not trying to spare us. Kim also says when her family got a call from prosecutors a few days ago about a deal, they were vague. Prosecutors never mentioned taking the death penalty off the table. What's especially puzzling, Kim says, prosecutors told her there was enough evidence to secure a guilty verdict. As we reported under the deal, Kohberger will plead guilty to 4 counts of murder. In return, prosecutors will take the death penalty off the table. Prosecutors will recommend life in prison without the possibility of parole. And also another thing was that he can't appeal either. So he can't appeal anything. A hearing is scheduled for Wednesday, and presumably that's when prosecutors and Kohberger will ask the judge to approve the plea deal. Kim says she wants the judge to delay making a decision so the families can figure out their next move. And then the one, let me find real quick where, here, this one will show what, oh no, that's a different one, which I am going to show that one. I want to show the post by the Goncalves, the Facebook post they made. I'll just go right on Facebook about it. And then, actually, while I'm getting that, let me play this real quick. I'll play this again because this is interesting. So I don't know if many people have seen this. This is with Hunter and I forget her name, the two people that were on that Dateline episode. They do an interview with, is it Good Morning America? I always get them mixed up with that other one. This one's Good Morning America. So let me play this real quick while I get the Facebook post, and I might be able to find, there might be new posts on Facebook to go over too, actually. Okay, so here we go.
College murders case. The trial date is now set. This morning, close friends of the victims are telling their story for the first time on GMA. Kana Whitworth sat down with them. Good morning, Kana.
Yeah, George, good morning to you. Hunter Johnson and Emily Allant were two of the first people to arrive at the King Road house that November morning. These are the friends who prompted the 911 call. Their actions described by other families as heroic, but for them, it was a morning that changed everything. And they're speaking out for the first time about what they want people to remember about their friends. It's not just about how they died, but about how they lived.
You know, you see the world in pure innocence, and that all gets ripped away from you in one phone call. That's just the day that changed it all.
This morning, for the first time, the best friends of Ethan Chapin and Xana Coronado speaking out about that November day when they discovered Ethan, Xana, Kaylee Goncalves, and Madison Mogan brutally murdered in an off-campus home.
I don't think anyone expects anything like that ever in their life to happen.
Hunter Johnson and his girlfriend Emily Allant now telling their story in a new Prime Video docuseries, One Night in Idaho, The College Murders.
We were a big group of friends. Why would you target those four?
Emily says she and Xana were inseparable.
We were attached at the hip probably the first day that we met. Yeah, we just clicked immediately. We were same personalities, I feel like.
I love it when people talk about Ethan and Xana sort of being like male and female versions of each other.
Oh, it's very much true. They were the same person.
Hunter and Emily say the fall weekend started like any other with a big football game. The friends snapping this photo that Saturday.
It was a normal weekend for us, just hanging out with our friends.
The next morning, Emily says Dylan, one of the surviving roommates, called her concerned, asking her and Hunter to come over. In the documentary, you tell the story of really not feeling alarmed when Dylan called you.
I joked around with her on the phone. You know, it's something you would never expect.
It's November, so I had shorts on, slides on. Like, I wasn't prepared to obviously stay there. I was just going over to check, see what's going on. I would say as soon as you get there, you know something's wrong.
Hunter was the first person to arrive to King Road to discover what happened. Their friend Josie Louderin, who was also there, describing the moments in the docuseries.
As soon as I stepped in the house, I was like, oh, something is so not right. Like, you could feel it almost. Hunter was ahead of me and Emily and immediately was pushed out. And Hunter was like, get out, somebody call 911.
You hear Hunter on the 911 call, telling the girls there was an unconscious person, protecting them from the graphic details.
Is she breathing?
No.
How did you remain so calm in that moment?
Truly, in my heart, I believe God was with me that day, and he gave me the strength to get through that day.
As authorities entered the home, the friends say they were told to sit outside, waiting for hours with little information.
We watched the ambulance come and we watched them immediately leave. So I think that was a hard part for sure.
That second you realize there's no one to be saved.
Right.
Their best friends inexplicably murdered. Not knowing who was responsible or why, they feared for their own safety.
We just left to get away, be safe.
Yeah.
Is our
You
mindset.
didn't feel safe?
No.
In the nearly 7 weeks it took police to arrest a suspect, Emily, Hunter, and surviving roommates Dylan and Bethany became the targets of online sleuths and social media attacks.
Lots of threats, people saying I should confess to murdering them. I felt like I was less than a person in that point in my life.
On December 30th, 2022, police arrested then 28-year-old Bryan Kohberger. To Emily and Hunter, he was a complete stranger. Their murder trial set to begin in August. His attorneys say he's innocent. Does justice lie in a conviction?
I don't think there's going to ever be any justice.
I mean, yeah, we can have justice for the conviction of it, but I don't get to still hang out with Ethan. So
they still don't get to.
They don't have a son. They don't have a daughter anymore.
They say they hope people remember who their friends were beyond the headlines.
Who they are as people is so much more than the Idaho 4, and they shouldn't be known as the Idaho 4, and they shouldn't be attached to, the name of who did that to them. And I just think that, hopefully one day that they're just seen as who they are and not what happened to them.
Yeah, Emily went on to tell me they are so much more than their last day. Now, they joined Ethan's family to speak in this docuseries, One Night in Idaho, The College Murders, which premieres July 11th on Prime Video. Also, keep in mind, guys, we're closely monitoring a Pennsylvania court today where several potential witnesses for the defense will learn if they need to testify.
Doesn't count any. Well, I don't know, unless if the judge doesn't.
In Idaho, when this trial is set to start in August.
As if he does go by the family's wishes. Okay, so look at this. There is a new statement here by the Goncalves family. Wait, it was just on there. It was just on my Facebook. Hold on a second. It was just the first thing, and now there's a bunch of stuff that probably that came up after it. Hold on one second. What the heck? There's the family statement, but there was actually like a picture of them. Where the heck did it go? I guess I should have saved it. I'll be able to get it, but I've already found the statement, but I want to find the statement with the picture. That was weird. All right, hold on. Let me go to their page. It's got to be on there. Did they take the picture off real quick? Dang it, I should have shared it. That was crazy. How does it just go off of it? Is what I want to understand. All right, let me just find this statement by itself, I guess. But there was a nice picture. I wanted to show you the picture because I have the same hoodie that what's her name? Steve's wife, Kaylee's mom was wearing. I have that same hoodie that she's wearing in the one that I'm in the thing that I'm talking about with the statement. But I wonder if they took it down. I mean, somebody reposted the statement, but now I gotta find it again. Gosh darn it. I'm kind of mad at myself for not just, I was gonna stop the video and share it right there. I mean, here is, I don't know if this is the same statement as what that was, because I didn't get to read it with the picture, but here's one part. Here is something. It says, I would like to clarify. I'll try to find the other ones too, but I would like to clarify a couple things. We did talk to the prosecution on Friday about the possibility of a plea deal, and it was hard. It was a hard no from our family. It was not very nonchalant and barely discussed, as the majority of the conversation was surrounding the upcoming trial. Nothing in our conversation prepared us for the next steps. Sunday night, we received an email that sent us scrambling. We immediately jumped into panic mode and started making phone calls and sending emails. We met with prosecution again today to reiterate our views on pushing for the death penalty. Unfortunately, all of our efforts did not matter. We did our best. We fought harder than anyone could ever imagine. Please do not argue or try to tell us that we should have done this or that. We gave it 200% for the last 2 years and 7 months. One day we will tell you all what we have really been through from day one. You will all be shocked. We fought a long battle, but we lost the war. We did gain an army of love that we know will always stand by us. We have so much love for each and every one of you. You all gave us strength when we felt like we couldn't take another step, called us off the ledge when we were ready to move or to wave the white flag, and most importantly, prayed for us when we were in utter despair and hopeless. So much love to you all. And then this says, Aubrey was unable to attend the meeting with prosecutors to beg for additional concessions to guarantee certainty in this case. We are all in awe of how she was able to perfectly articulate the following, especially at only 18 years old. We are so proud of her. Hello, my name is Aubrey Goncalves. I am the youngest member of the Goncalves family. Though I'm unable to be there in person, I refuse to stay silent about a situation that should never have required this kind of gathering in the first place. What the families of Ethan, Kaylee, Maddie, and Xana have endured over the past 2 years and a half is beyond comprehension. From the constant delays to the relocation of proceedings, making it harder for loved ones to attend, the justice system has placed heavy burdens on those already carrying unimaginable grief. Through it all, we have tried to hold on to hope. We believed in the process. We've had faith in the system, but at this point, it is impossible not to acknowledge the truth. The system has failed these 4 innocent victims and their families. These are not just names or headlines. Ethan, Kaylee, Madison, and Xana were beautiful human beings who touched countless lives. They are not just the Idaho 4. They were sons, daughters, siblings, and friends, real people with real dreams. They deserve to be remembered for who they were in life, not only for the tragedy of their deaths, but before that can truly happen, they deserve justice, nothing less. The introduction of this plea deal just weeks before the scheduled trial is both shocking and cruel. Had this proposal come a year and a half ago, the families could have had time to process, discuss, and potentially come to terms with the idea of a life sentence. However difficult that may be. We could have had time to understand it, to prepare for it emotionally, and perhaps even to find some degree of peace. But now, with mere weeks left, we are being asked to absorb and respond to life-altering decisions with no room to breathe. Bryan facing a life in prison means that he will still get to speak, form relationships, and engage with the world. Meanwhile, our loved ones have been silenced forever. The reality stings more deeply when it feels like the system is protecting its future more than honoring the victim's past. The justice system was created to serve and protect, not to re-traumatize grieving families. And yet, time and time again, we find ourselves blindsided, unheard, and unsupported. This last-minute plea deal feels like an act of justice and more like feels less like an act of justice and more like an afterthought. We are not asking for vengeance. We are asking for accountability. We are asking for dignity for our loved ones. We are pleading for a justice system that truly lives up to its name. But I think the reason they didn't do the plea deal before is because he wouldn't take it before. He wasn't taking a plea deal. He was wanting to fight it and say he's innocent. So I think that's why. If they would have been able to get him to plead guilty 2 years ago, they would have done it. They would have much rather preferred that and saved money. So it's not that they preferred to wait this long. It's that he waited this long to finally say, okay, I'll accept the deal. You know what I'm saying? So, I mean, I get both sides. I do. I get both sides. In my opinion, I think it's a good thing because I know he probably wouldn't get put to death for 20 plus years anyway. Okay. So thinking that he's going to be put to death right away, that's not how it works. Us true crimers, we know it takes a long time. And a lot of the times the death sentence gets moved to life in prison anyway. And especially if they keep pushing the whole autism thing, and there's a good chance with all the appeals, it could end up getting changed to life in prison anyway. And I think the whole re-traumatized thing, I feel like this is actually going to be less re-traumatizing over and over for 20 years, because every time an appeal comes up, they get to rethink that he could get free and who knows what's going to happen. They got to relive it and stuff. So I think this actually cuts down the re-traumatizing, but I know right now they're just surprised. I think in the long run, they're going to realize that it probably, I don't know. I think it's just us that's been following true crime. We kind of know how this stuff works more because we see case after case and we see how long it takes and how many appeals. I don't think they realize right now like what that consists of and how long it takes to actually get to the final appeal. You know what I'm saying? Well, we have Darlie Routier. She's still alive, 30 plus years on death row. Hasn't got put to death yet. So it's like, that's just one person that comes into my head. I mean, it takes a while. So, as I understand their side, I do. It's just sprung on them. I do wish they would have gave him like a week ahead of time, at least. Like, at least don't schedule that hearing until give him at least a week. Like 2 days is much. Like, I'm surprised, but I see both sides. I see why the family's hurt, but I also see why the state did that. I really do. I mean, let me try to find that. It probably is one of those statements, but there was a picture of I just want to make sure because it was like somebody else writing the statement for him. And I don't know why it had to freaking disappear on me. I'm getting upset about this. They wouldn't have, it makes me think that it got taken, like somebody took it down or something. Because it was right there. And I didn't even get off the page. I just kept up the page and I was just going to bring it over and then it disappeared. I'm going to try to see. No, it's not that one. I'm just trying to go to the. Let me see. Is it maybe? I don't know why It just disappeared on me, guys. It's starting. I mean, as you know me with my, I can't give up. It's like it's gonna make me want to keep trying it until I can freaking get it. Is anything else? Do you guys know if has you guys seen anything else that's interesting about this? I gotta turn that back on. It is getting hot. I thought it was gonna be okay. Oh nope, it is. It's getting hot. Okay, so wait, here are key experts. I had a chance to review the letter of prosecution. Okay, let's see what this says. Somebody says, I've had a chance to review the letter the prosecution sent to the families, a couple key excerpts on how they try to explain the decision. It says, as we stated, here, I'll just share this page. As we stated during our meetings, they were approached by the defense last week asking for an offer. We met with the available family members, weighed the right path forward, and made a formal offer as we outlined yesterday. This letter is to advise you that we have received an acceptance of our offer from the defendant. We cannot fathom the toll that this case has taken on your family. The resolution is our sincere attempt to seek justice for your family. The agreement ensures that the defendant will be convicted, will spend the rest of his life in prison, will not be able to put you and other families through the uncertainty of decades of post-conviction appeals. Your viewpoints weighed heavily in our decision-making process, and we hope that you may come to appreciate why you believe this resolution is in the best interest of justice. That was basically what was in the articles anyway that we went over already. Here's the initial one that they said. It's true. We are beyond furious at the state of Idaho. They have failed us. Please give us some time. This is very unexpected. We appreciate all your love and support. That was the initial one that they sent. Oh, so here, I think this is the statement, I think, that, yeah, it was connected to the picture. I think this is it. I'll read this one. I wish I could find it though. It says Goncalves family statement. The death penalty is merely an illusion in the criminal justice system. When available, it serves as a bargaining tool for the state. And when rarely applied, it's never enforced due to highly insufficient appellate process. The notion that someone can plead guilty to a crime and still face years of appellate delays reveals a systematic failure. Oh, so they're aware of that. Okay. The Latah County Prosecutor's Office treatment of our family during this process is something I wouldn't wish on anyone. We questioned decisions early in the investigation. Why was the mayor commenting on the case? Why was the coroner speaking to the families? Wait, what? Why was the mayor commenting on the case? Why was the coroner speaking to families? Why was an officer with less than 2 years experience leading the investigation? Why was the University of Idaho involved when they declared it an isolated off-campus incident? Why was the university permitted to write a book about the incident while others were silenced under an overly broad order? As a result, we were branded adversaries. I can't say that word. So it was no shock how the Latah County Prosecutor's Office mishandled a plea deal. They vaguely mentioned a possible plea on Friday without seeking our input and presented the plea on Sunday. Latah County should be ashamed of its prosecutor's office. 4 wonderful young people lost their lives, yet the victims' families were treated as opponents from the outset. We weren't even called about the plea. We received an email with a letter attached. That's how Latah County's prosecutor's office treats murder victim families. Adding insult to injury, they're rushing the plea, giving families just 1 day to coordinate and appear in the courthouse for a plea on July 2nd. Who do they think they are? After more than 2 years, this is how it concludes, with a secretive deal and a hurried effort to close the case without any input from the victims' families on the plea details. Our family's frustrated right now, and that will subside, and we will come together as always and deal with the reality that we face moving forward. Once again, we thank everyone for their thoughts and prayers. I don't know, guys. What are you guys thinking? I'm pretty sure that was the statement that was attached to that picture. but I'm not 100% sure. So you know me, I'm going to keep trying to find it, at least even after I get off. Let me see if this looks like, no, it's just going to be, well, let's see. I don't know.
Penalty would reportedly be pulled off the table. We understand there is a hearing scheduled for later this week. We're waiting for official legal confirmation of that. Good evening, I'm Sean Owsley. As you just saw there, the victims in this case, very young lives, lost suddenly and heinously in a crime November 13th, 2022, just after 4 a.m. on King Road. Families and their attorneys say they were made aware of this deal just recently, very recently. For more, let's bring in Nonstop Local's Morgan Ashley in studio tonight. Good evening, Morgan. A statement from the Goncalves family attorney, Shannon Gray. We have that.
Yeah, we most certainly do. Multiple sources confirming quadruple murder suspect Bryan Kohberger has accepted a plea deal to plead guilty for life in prison, avoiding the death penalty. Shannon Gray, the family attorney, issued a statement on their behalf. It reads in part, quote, after more than 2 years, this is how it concludes, with a secretive deal and a hurried effort to close the case without any input from the victims' families on the plea details. Our family is frustrated right now, and that will subside. And we will come together, as always, and deal with the reality that we face moving forward, end quote. The Idaho Statesman is reporting the victims' families received this news of this deal by letter. We've been told that they found out just within the last day or so. We've also learned from our sources they're under the impression there will be a change of plea hearing in Boise this week, although that has not appeared officially on the court docket. The Statesman reports prosecutor Bill Thompson wrote in that letter, quote, this resolution is our sincere attempt to seek justice for your family. This agreement ensures that the defendant will be convicted, will spend the rest of his life in prison, and will not be able to put you and the other families through the uncertainty of decades of post-conviction appeals, end quote. The letter also says Kohberger will likely be sentenced in late July as part of the deal. He'll have to waive his right to an appeal, according to the Idaho Statesman. The Goncalves family initially appeared to confirm this news of a deal on Facebook today. They said, quote, it's true, we are beyond furious with the state of Idaho. As soon as we get some court documents posted officially, a court date as mentioned too, we will of course let you know. In studio tonight, I'm Morgan Ashley.
On mute. What do you guys think? I guess I don't even know. I mean, you said I see both sides. Oh, I wanted to share one more thing. Hold on, where is it? It was, did I send it to myself? It's tough. It's like, I'll play this while
And I want to share,
see what they have to say. Gosh, I don't.
My screen and show you what they had to say about this. They confirmed that this news was indeed true.
This is what I wanted to play. Hold on. I haven't
This
seen
morning-
it. It's not a new. This is from December, but I haven't seen it. It looks like it's mom murder victim shares story about matching ring from late daughter.
Karen Lierme, Madison Mogen's mom, appeared on the Today Show to share her favorite memories of her daughter and to promote the work being done with her Made with Kindness Foundation.
Well, you describe her kindness as beyond.
Yes.
It's like everywhere she went, she brought light. That was just how she led, right? Tell us about that.
It is. So it was just surprising to me. So we were in Seattle one time and I'm watching her as an adult going shopping and being in these stores. And I'm like, you're just so kind to everybody. Did we really ingrain that in you? Like, that's amazing.
She was joined by her friend Angela Neves to talk about their work to provide scholarship funds, grief wellness seminars, and on-campus safety awareness. You can watch this full interview on the Today Show's YouTube channel.
Oh, look, I never saw all these pictures. I guess I never. Wait, there's pictures of him. I thought there was some of him as Kaylee. Hold on. I guess that's just him and his wife. Wow, they look so young. I swear. I guess they are just him and her. Okay. Well, I'm like not giving up. Where did that post go? It was a picture. She has a tie-dye hoodie on. Kaylee's mom. She's with her dad. Why is this driving me nuts? Like, I can't let it go. I have to find it. Unless if they took it down, then I'll never find it. But why would they have taken it down? I found it. It is the one where it says merely an illusion. I found this is what I was talking about. Oh my God, thank God, because I would not have been able to relax if I didn't find it. That was driving me nuts. Okay. So yeah, I have the same hoodie as her. I like his Justice for Kaylee. But yep, it's the statement is the one where it says the death penalty is merely an illusion. So yeah, I already read that, the one that was under Brian Ettons. So, but that's what it was. Okay. Anyway, yeah, I think that's all. Let me just check YouTube one more time and see if there's anything else. And then, I mean, there's a ton of people just talking about, the plea deal, but I'm seeing if there's actually anything like with the families or anything that, you know what I'm saying? Like that kind of stuff. That's all. I mean, there's a lot of people's reactions, but I mean, we watched enough of those for right now because I do want to get that other jail call up. But if there's one with the family, I would love to. This one could be interesting.
Can you tell me about the protocol for a circumstance like this? Start with Wednesday, the day that the plea is going to be changed from not guilty to guilty. What should we expect to see happen on Wednesday? What will we hear from Bryan Kohberger on that day?
Sure. Thank you, Ashley. I think that what we can anticipate in this case is the judge is not going to accept any type of skirting around the elements of this crime. Unfortunately, what is going to be required is Mr. Kohberger pleading guilty to the elements of the murders of each of these 4 kids. And I hate to use the words kids because they're obviously adults, but we know that they're just, university students on the cusp of their life. And I think the court is going to require and not accept anything other than Mr. Kohberger telling the court exactly what happened in this case.
But I don't expect that Wednesday. Do you expect that much of an allocution on Wednesday? Or do you expect to hear those kinds of details during sentencing at the end of July?
if the court is going to accept a guilty plea on Wednesday, Bryan Kohberger is going to have to tell the court exactly what he did.
See, that's crazy because we just watched another video where it was a law and crime that said that the allocution, no, he won't have to do that. So it's like we're getting mixed things. I think the first one was right. I don't think he's going to have to do it, especially on this part. I don't know though, unless if it's a part of their plea deal. But you think if it was a part of the deal, they would have said that. And it would have been a part of what they told the family. Like, he's going to have to tell exactly what he did. Because I think they would feel better. They would feel better if he had to. But so I do think that the first person was right. I don't think he's going to have to tell the details. I hope that the judge can make them. But if that's not a part of the deal, which the first video we watched, they sounded like they understood it better, that whatever the way it works better. What do you guys think? Because I just think we would know it would have been a part of the deal. I don't think he's going to have to. I would hope. See, I think though, why didn't they? That could have been a thing. They could have went back and been like, listen, we'll give you that deal, but he has to tell exactly what he did to each of the things, so the families could get some closure on what happened. And then maybe he would have took the deal and done it. But it doesn't sound like that was a part of it. What do you guys think? Yeah, so it sounds like maybe the judge could say that. The judge could say, wait a minute, okay, I'm not going to accept this deal unless if you say you will tell, the families exactly what happened. The judge does have the power to do that, but then that's not the deal that he accepted yet, I don't think. So will he accept it if they do? Well, this is just a hypothetical because we don't know if the judge is going to do that. But if the judge does put that out there, do you think Bryan will accept that and say, okay, I'll tell exactly what I did? I don't know. Will that be the thing that he's like, nope, I'll take the death penalty over that? But that's the thing. We don't know if, we don't even know if, how do you word this? We should somehow get a hold of the family and ask them, hey, can you maybe recommend that? Maybe that'll be a thing that they'll do. Okay, you know what? If you're not going to listen to us about giving him a plea deal, can you at least meet in the middle and make him tell what happened? Anyway, I think that would be a good idea, but I don't think that's what he took as a deal so far.
To be guilty of this crime. So I do expect that on Wednesday. Unless there was an Alford plea, which I cannot anticipate the state agreeing to in this case. But if the court is going to accept a plea, he's going to have to tell the court what he did.
And who is this expert? Because that's not usually how it works. Unless if it's a specific instruction, most of the times when people plead guilty, they don't have to tell what they did. So who is this expert? It sounds like we know more than she does. Because as much as that we all want that, that would be a great deal. That's not usually how it works. It really isn't. From everything I've seen, when people plead guilty, they don't usually have to. They don't, when they go guilty, they don't be like, okay, this is what I did. That's not how it usually happens. Now, like I said, they could put in a stipulation, but that's an exception. That's something specifically that they have to ask for. Is this person a lawyer? I'm really confused because she doesn't sound like she really knows what she's talking about.
Brian Enton, if you could just weigh in very quickly. This has all been very last minute for the families as well. And so they haven't even got 48 hours at this point to put together their statements, their victims' impact statements. Where did they tell you they were at with this process? Even arriving, even going to the hearing on Wednesday.
Well, and just to respond to what Edwina said, I have been told that the prosecution said that they would not accept an Alford plea. And what an Alford plea is, and Edwina can correct me if I'm wrong, she's the lawyer here, but the way I understand it, an Alford plea would have been a plea where he would have pled guilty, gotten life, but he wouldn't have actually admitted to committing the murders. And I am told that the prosecution would not accept that kind of a plea. It needed to be just a flat out, I did it, I'm taking full responsibility plea. So I don't think Alford plea is on the table, but I guess we'll find out for sure on Wednesday. In terms of the timing, I mean, I think these families were getting ready for a trial in August and emotionally gearing up for that. And now to know that they have to figure out a way to get to Boise in 2 days and face the man who is admitting to killing their kids. And I told you this earlier, Ashley, one family member told me, and this just like really hit me the way she described it, you know, that she had been working for 2.5 years to get her power back, like to take the power away from Bryan Kohberger and to feel empowered again. And that she felt like when the prosecution gave Kohberger the option of either taking the plea or going to trial, that he somehow had all the power again now. And that was the most devastating thing for her. And I think that just gives you an eye into sort of how these families are processing this right now.
Thank you for watching.
No, the Alford plea, yeah, she's right about what an Alford plea is, Kim, but she's not right that him admitting guilt does not mean he has to say the specific things that happened. That has to be a specific thing that they agree on. You know what I'm saying? You could plead guilty and not have to say, it depends. They have to specify for it to do that. You don't, not all people that plead guilty have to do that. Yeah, she's correct about what an Alford plea that you wouldn't have to do that, but she isn't correct that he wasn't offered the Alford plea. That's not an Alford plea. That's not what he was offered, just like Brian Etten said. And that you can plead guilty without having to say exactly what happened. Hopefully they specify that, the judge says that, but I don't think that was in the plea agreement, because you would think that that would be an important fact that the prosecutors would tell the family, because they would want to hear that. Hey, also in this plea, he has to not only admit that he did it, but say exactly what happened. Okay. I'm pretty sure. So I'm hoping the judge just thinks of that and says that. But normally you could plead guilty, take a deal, and just, you wouldn't have to say everything that happened. You just have to say, I'm guilty. Yes, I'm guilty of murdering them. So, you know what I'm saying? So, I feel like on a normal level, that would probably be usually what happens. Hopefully they made a special thing where it says he has to tell exactly what happens. But most of the time they just have to say guilty of murder. Yes, I plead guilty. I murdered 4 counts. I murdered, whoever the person murdered, and I plead guilty to it. That would be a normal guilty plea, right? But no, Alford plea, that's not what he's getting. I never even thought that's what he's getting. But yeah, an Alford plea, you have to admit that there's enough evidence for a guilty thing, but you don't have to say you're guilty. Alford plea is not admitting guilt. It's admitting that there's enough evidence for a guilty verdict. And a lot of the times Alford plea, you get out. Like, you don't get the punishment. The more famous ones that we've heard of, West Memphis 4, they took the Alford plea. They got out. They had to take the Alford plea, admitted there's enough evidence to convict them, but they got to get out. Who else got the Alford plea? What's his name? The staircase murder guy. He took the Alford plea. He got out. This was not the Alford plea, so I don't know why she thought it was that. And also, yeah, I do think the first expert that we watched knows more as far legally what usually happens, in my opinion, from what I've seen from the cases I followed. But let's just hope the judge does ask for it. I just don't think it's written in the plea yet, from what I've seen, because I think they would have said that. They really would have. I know. I hope you guys aren't misunderstanding me. The Alford plea, I don't even know why she said that. Nobody ever said anything about Alford plea. That's not what it was. That's not what I'm saying. I only brought it up because she brought it up. And Brian Etten was just kind of being nice, responding like, well, but that wasn't that's not what he was taking. Out for plea is a very specific thing, and that's not what he was offered. If he was offered the out for plea, I'd be really mad, but a lot of people they don't get the sentence. Yeah. Yeah, check. Hold on, let me look up. I'm just saying on a typical thing. And I really think if it was a part of the plea deal, they would have included it to the families. That would have been a very important fact to include to the families, don't you think? Okay, hold on, let me see. Oh, man, my legs are hurting. So yeah, just like that first girl says, is they'll name the charges. They'll name the charges and he has to say he did them. You know what I'm saying? But typically it's not that he has to list out. I went into the house. I put the mask on. I went upstairs to Maddie's room to Kaylee and Maddie's room. I took the knife, like that kind of stuff is what I'm saying. We're saying we hope that maybe the judge makes a specific instruction that he has to give detailed details of what happened, because I think the families want to know the specifics. And that's normally not what happens when somebody pleads guilty. They don't tell all the facts. Yes, he's going to have to say he murdered all of them. And they're going to name, like, the judge will probably like name the charges and he's going to have to say, yes, I did those. I'm guilty of that. But I don't think it's in the plea yet that he has to say every little detail that he did. That's what we're talking about. I hope maybe you were misunderstanding what we were saying. So I just looked it up because I was like, maybe AI will be able to word it better. It says, when pleading guilty, you're admitting to the facts that support the charge. So they will say, these are the facts. You have to admit that you are guilty. And he will say, yes, I am guilty of those. Okay, we know that. That's what the first expert said. Yes, he will have to say he's guilty of the facts of the charge, right? Yes, that's okay. So maybe that's what you're talking about. Yes, he will have to say he did that, right? While you don't necessarily have to recount every detail, you must acknowledge you committed the offense as described in the charge. That's what, if I was able to say it in words earlier, that's what I meant. He's going to have to say he is guilty of the charge. And like the first experts say, the court, and she said this, the first one said, the court will ensure you understand the charges and the consequences of the plea. Like, they'll lay out everything, make sure you understand it, make sure this is what you're pleading guilty to. Yes, okay? But we are saying we hope that we hope that the judge maybe, and I don't think he will unless the family asks, that maybe it will help the family be able to come to some kind of closure and agree to it if he lays out the specifics of the case. But I don't think it's in the plea deal is what I'm saying, because if it was, I think we would have seen it in the letter and stuff, because that would be a huge selling point to being okay about the plea deal. Okay, he's going to lay out step by step so you can understand what happened that night. And obviously it's not in it yet, but hopefully they'll add it. If anybody knows how to get a hold of the family, maybe recommend asking for that. I mean, I guess they could first ask for them to just throw it out, but if not, ask like, okay, can we come to some agreement? And he has to write out a description of exactly what he did. I don't know. I mean, maybe it is in there, but you would think that should have been in the letter, because that would at least be a little bit better. Yeah, I don't know. It's not accepted yet, though. Here's the thing, Pineapple. It's accepted by Bryan, but the judge has to accept it. So I think there is still a chance the judge could say, I don't accept this unless if you write out the details of what happened that night, the specific details. But you're right, Pineapple, because he could say no and not accept the plea deal. And then the whole thing could get thrown out where he says, I don't accept it. I won't do that. And then they have to go to trial, and maybe, they don't want that possible outcome. So they might not even throw it on the table. But I mean, I'm sure they could he denies it and they could still go back to the old plea if they wanted to, I'm sure. But yeah, he don't have to accept it. He would have to re-accept that, But I mean, you could ask for anything in a plea deal. I mean, they could ask for it. Will he accept it? I don't know. Would you? I mean, what do you guys think? I don't. I don't know. That's a tough one. I think there's a chance he might, but there's also a chance he might not. But I think there's a chance he could. He could agree to that. If he's like really afraid of the death sentence and he's like, well, if that's the only way that they're going to spare the death sentence, like I could see him accepting that and doing it. But with that being said, we have to believe what he says. So it's going to be us believing what he said. You know what I'm saying? But I mean, at this point, if he's admitting guilt, like why not? Why wouldn't he just tell the truth? He's admitting to doing it. So I know, I don't think so either. But my whole point was whoever that expert was, that's what I was like. She was saying that but maybe I misunderstood what she was saying. But I perceived her saying that he will have to do that. And I'm like, wow, that's not usually how it works. She doesn't seem like she does know really. Because I feel like Bryan and what's her name? Oh, I always forget Banfield. I feel like, is it Ashley Banfield, right? I feel like they realized, like as they were talking to her, I think they've been around this true crime. They know how it works. So I think they were realizing she was wrong too. And then they're nice. They're not gonna be like, oh no. And he's like, no, like I think I don't know the way he answered. Like I think he realizes it's not really a thing that normally happens. But that I think it was Law and Crime, the first expert. I feel like she knew more what she was talking about. Where he has to like accept the charges, say he's guilty of the charges. The judge will lay out, the facts of the case, and he has to say he's guilty of that. But he doesn't have to add he can if he wants. I'm sure, I mean, he's allowed to, but he doesn't have to add to it. You know what I'm saying? He doesn't have to add his account of it. He just has to accept their account of it and say, I'm guilty of it, basically. So I feel pretty confident that I know what I'm talking about on this. That's how it normally is. But hopefully they added a little thing in there. Yeah. Case in point, you guys remember Aiden Fucci? Is that his name? He pled guilty at the last minute right before the trial. He didn't have to give specifics. All he had to do is say guilty. He didn't give the specifics of what happened because it's not usually a thing that you have to do. Now, that wasn't a plea deal, though. That was just him pleading guilty because the death penalty wasn't on the table. So he just, I don't know why at the last minute he decided to plead guilty. But, it's the same difference. He pled guilty. Yeah, this is a plea deal. So unless if that was in the plea deal, if it was a part of the plea deal, then yeah, but I don't think it was. I think it's just a regular plea guilty type thing. Unless it was, and the families kept that part out when they were talking crap about the state. Maybe they just wanted to, I don't know. Who knows? I guess we'll see, guys. We'll see what the judge says. And hey, if it is, I would love that though, because it will give us all, at least, especially the family, at least we'll have some kind of a knowledge of what happened, because we're not going to be able to watch the trial. And I don't know how much they are going to consider public. There's a lot of counties and states and different cases where they won't even give you body cams or interviews. Say, nope, it's not. It doesn't fall under this because of this or whatever. So, I mean, I don't know. I don't know. We actually might not get to see some of it, like some of that stuff. Or maybe they will consider it public. So what I'm saying is, even if it's not sealed, if they don't like seal it, no, files aren't sealed. You could order the discovery files and stuff, do a public records, request. They might not include body cams, interviews as public in their eyes. It's weird how every case, it's almost like case by case. I swear, it's so, it drives me nuts. Anyway, I guess I'm going to try to live stream it Wednesday. I do have an appointment. I don't know what time. If anybody finds out what time it is, email me. I'm going to try to figure out what time. It's going to be Wednesday. I know where to go to get the live stream. I just don't know what time. So I got to figure out what time. And then I'll live stream it. And if it's not during my appointment time. Yeah, right. He might just get that little prison justice thing. I mean, typically it happens with, people that mess with underage. I don't know though. This case is really big. So all of them are going to know who he is. I don't know. Because then, I mean, that usually would happen way before, like, if he got the death sentence, way before he'd actually get put to death. Let me see. Hold on. I want to see something. Idaho death penalty. I want to see. Let's see what it says. They've carried out 29 executions. The firing squad is an alternative method because if they get the meds that they need is like hard to get, I guess. So I don't know. So if they can't do that, it's an alternative method. Let me see. How long does it take? Of course, it's going to vary, but how long is it average? Last execution in Idaho was 2012. So that's what, 13 years ago. Let's see. So in March 2025, Brad Little, the governor, signed legislation that would make the firing squad the primary method of execution. Yeah, I remember doing a video on that. I knew it was alternate, but it's actually the primary. They're the first state to do that. Wow. I'm trying to see, like, how long. It's typical in Idaho. They're naming it like in America. I want to get it specific to Idaho of how long the typical wait is, but I guess it just depends. They have nine residents under the sentence of death in Idaho. So they got 9. So I'm sure 9 will go before him, right? Or I don't know if that works that way. So he'd be the 10th one on death row in Idaho. If he would have, I guess he won't be, but he would have. Interesting. I guess I could just, this is what I'm looking at right now. Let's see. What's this? It's the motion to continue. Okay, hold on. Let me see if there's. I wonder. I'm going to be interested to see, guys, what happens Wednesday. I don't know. I mean, that would be a good thing to try. Like, at least it would kind of satisfy the family if he had to list out everything. You know what I'm saying? But I love the people that are. Oh my Lord. I guess that's all, guys. Anything else that you've seen with that? I'll look in chat in 1 minute. I'm just doing another double take to see if I missed anything. Well, let's see what this one.
With this breaking news on the plea deal for Bryan Kohberger in the Idaho quadruple murder case, 2.5 years in and just 30 days, basically, till jury selection. My colleague Brian Enton, who broke this story, is back with me live, as is Mark Garagos, who is one of the best attorneys in the business and has been through his share of high-profile cases. Brian, I want to start with you real quickly because you've got some reporting for me about what the prosecutors outlined to the families as their rationale for why this deal should go forward.
Here we go. Let's see. Maybe they will. Maybe it's in there,
Yeah,
guys.
I want to go
Fingers
through
crossed.
this list with you, Ashley, and kind of explain these different bullet points that.
Yes. This will tell us right here if that's in there, guys. Let's go. Let's go.
They gave to the families about why they were supporting this plea deal. So they started with every trial, there's always risks. As we conveyed, we feel very confident about the strength of the state's case. However, this does not eliminate all risks associated with trial. They talked about a mistrial, hung jury, and the fact that this could result in the families having to go through the process again. They also said a month-long jury trial will impose an emotional, mental, financial, and physical toll on the families, friends, roommates of the victims without any certainty of an outcome. There would be some measure of finality if the defendant admits he was guilty of the murders. There is only one realistic way to get this type of closure, and that is through his entry of a guilty plea. So basically, they were saying if the trial moved forward and he was pleading not guilty, they would have never gotten the satisfaction of a guilty plea. And this was interesting. They said that, sadly, as many have experienced, there are individuals out there who believe in conspiracy theories about this case, believe the defendant to be innocent or support the defendant in some way. We know the sentiments of support of defendants have been unbearable. We can only hope that at least some of these people will turn their attention to other matters if the defendant takes responsibility and admits to his heinous crimes by pleading guilty. And the last two reasons they gave, or the last reason they gave, the state believes the death penalty is warranted in this case. We've never wavered in that. However, they talked about how people can remain on death row for 30 or 40 years, which has happened in Idaho. There would be appeals, and that this would just drag on and on for the families. Ashley?
Mark
Yes,
Garagos,
Mark.
Brian Enton just listed out some very strong reasons for why a plea deal is a great idea. If you're Steve Goncalves, the state had this guy. They had him dead to rights. They had overwhelming bad facts that, I mean, I don't know that Ann Taylor could have climbed that Everest with every tool in the toolbox. Why a plea deal for a case that looked this rock solid?
You know, it shows you how jaded I suppose I am. I didn't understand why they took the plea deal, the defense. I don't get it. This is somebody, that was my first reaction. I know that may not be a popular reaction, but what's the advantage of him taking a plea deal to life without and no chance of appeal when it's a circumstantial case? Number one. Number two, the reasons the prosecutor gave here are compelling. I don't know. I've never had a trial where both the victims and the accused families hasn't said, how do you do this for a living? How do you go through a trial like this? Trials are not easy. Trials are some of the most stressful, unbelievably nerve-wracking things you could ever go through. And the idea of having a defendant get up, plead guilty, accept responsibility, say, I'm not going to appeal, waive my right to appeal, and all he gets is he's not going to sit on death row for 30 years or until such time as the death penalty may be eliminated, as it is in many states. I get the raw emotion. I get that, and I understand nobody. Nobody's going to second guess anybody who's had the unthinkable happen to them. So I understand that.
Yeah.
At the same time, please, why go through this just to have a jury say the same thing and then have to listen? If you're the guy, let me tell you what would end up happening. You get to a guilty verdict in that phase. You then get to a penalty phase, and you have to listen to mitigation evidence. If you were the victim at that point, and that's a legal conclusion, the victim, because somebody's been found guilty, you don't want to hear a litany of mitigation evidence about somebody who has been found guilty of killing your loved one. I can't think of anything worse. I don't want to hear about all the good things or all the problems or this or that. I just want the person gone. And I I think there is some closure with somebody standing up and taking responsibility. And I think that with some hindsight that, and I remember, Ashley, you tell me when we first talked about this, some of the victims' families were on your show saying that they were not supportive of the death penalty. So I'll leave it at that.
Thank you for watching.
I mean, I know I might get crap for this, but I agree with what he said. Like, I just think they just need time to let it settle in for all the reasons he just said. Like, now with him saying he's always for the defense because he's a defense attorney, so him saying like, why did the defense take it? I don't agree with that. I think he's definitely guilty, that he should have taken it, but I agree with what he said after. Like, this is good. This is actually good for the families. Like, why? This is what I don't understand. I would much rather, my opinion, like the person saying they did it rather than the person denying it and then 12 random people just saying that he's guilty. And I know, you know, listen to the evidence saying he's guilty. I'd rather the person that did it say, yes, I did it. You know what I'm saying? Because if he goes through a jury, if he went through a jury, he would just, a trial, he would just keep denying he's innocent and he's innocent, you know? But the fact that he's saying, okay, I did it, but I get the point of view where it's giving him the power. But I mean, he's admitting guilt. I don't know. I see both sides. I just think they need a little bit of time to let it sink in. I want to know which family members were against the death penalty. Does anybody know? Did anybody see that video he's talking about? Because that would be interesting if it's one of the, I don't know which one. Anybody? That's another video I've been working on, going through her call logs and finding out who she's calling. I have so many things. I'm overwhelmed with, like, I have now the Wade calls, finish the Wade messages. I have the new calls Wade, and then I have the Stephen McDaniel stuff I want to do. Then I wanted to do, I've been working on going through all the phone numbers that Taylor called and seeing who they are, because they don't give names, they just give phone numbers. You have to figure out who they are. So there's so many too. So I was going through that, making like a graph of like who called when. So I have a little bit of everything started and just nothing finished. Oh, you're right. Keep it moving. You're right. I think I remember that interview. It was like the first family to speak out was Ethan's family. Well, at least that was the first interview I saw of the victims' families, was Ethan's mom and dad. Remember that? Now, I don't know. Maybe it was just the first one I seen, and maybe other people, maybe the Goncalves did go first. I don't know, but that was the first interview I seen after it all happened, was his parents. But then, like, the other families kind of like stayed more quiet, and the Goncalves were doing all the interviews. But I think it was that one. I don't know, Michelle. I don't think so. When does that start? I haven't followed it at all. I mean, maybe, but I don't know. I mean, I know the basics of it, but I haven't covered it at all, I should say. I don't know yet. When does the trial start? Really? Shoot, email me. Oh, I need help. All right, guys, I'm going to end it. I don't think there's really much else. I'm going to get this other video, Wade's pre-record up, and I am going to try to get some sleep after that. I'll see you guys later. Hi, Honeycomb. Hi, Michelle. Let me say hi to Allison. Hey, oh, thank you, Melissa Mellies, for the super chat. Thank you. Keep it moving. G of twins. Thanks, guys. Yeah, exactly. That's what I was trying. And you said it better, but that's what I've been preaching for like the last 20 minutes. I've been trying to say that. Yeah. But you put it in one sentence and probably made it more understandable than me talking for 30 minutes about it. But yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like, we've watched enough trials. There really isn't, like, that's not the way it works. You don't, when you plead guilty, you don't have to say the specifics unless if there's a specific negotiated agreement. Exactly. And I don't think there was, because don't you think we would have heard about that? Question, Gia Twins, don't you think if there was, they would have told the family that, right? They would have included, hey, listen, this is what he has to do. I mean, they listed out all the other stuff. They would have included it. So that's why I don't think it's included, because that would have been a huge thing to include to the families. Anyway, all right, guys, I'll see you guys. Oh, is it something about this case, Michelle, that I should wait to see? I don't have an email from you. It might come later. Sometimes when people say it, it's like a delay. Yeah, I mean, I think they should have waited a little bit. I think they should have gave them like a week before they had the court. Bye, Mama Mia. All right, bye, guys.